Hello, everyone. Apologies for the delay. Technology has defeated us yet another time in our lives. It happens, but at least I can blame it on technology, not the fact that I was a little late to set this up for the rest of the guys. Anyhow, welcome to another episode of Contact Lost, where we've got myself, Joker. We've got little bold Englishman, Danny.
I wasn't sure which one you were going for then. You made your choice, okay?
There's a small one and a big one.
Yeah, there we go.
There's two Bowman. I need to shave to match the theme here, apparently. And we've got none other than the podcast, the general himself, apparently showing back. And that is Tweak. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back.
And a massive thank you to our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani. Without their support, we wouldn't be here, as well as our community of patrons and our YouTube members. Now, the topic for today will be the Battle of Britain, which apparently Danny has won. Danny managed to win an event.
Wait, fuck off.
What is the world coming to?
Fuck
Congrats,
off.
buddy.
Wow.
Danny has left the room.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because he was going to be doing the majority of the talking tonight. He's back.
How cool is the trophy?
Can you move
can't
it
see it,
closer
that's
to the
really
camera?
shit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, keep it there because otherwise it blurs the thing out.
Oh, I needed a second to figure out what it is.
It's
It's
a hammer.
It's a hammer. Yeah.
Danny,
It's
you are
Mjolnir,
the
it's
Warhammer.
Mjolnir. It's Mjolnir on a
Congratulations.
slate on marble. It's awesome.
Yeah, but you're not pure of heart, so you cannot lift it from the little stone.
That is true, actually. I cannot. I've tried.
You're not actually worthy.
Because then I could swing a little Mjolnir around. It'd be sick.
Exactly.
If it wasn't so little, it would also be dangerous, but alas.
Look, man, size is not everything, okay?
Okay.
It
You
still
keep
can
telling
pack-
yourself that.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, Danny, what was the UK like? Was it any
Wet.
bit more sunny?
Grey.
Yeah, the usual.
You know what? All right. I left last Friday and I arrived back in Warsaw yesterday. I still have not seen the sun.
It
I-
just means that you take bad weather with
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, exactly. You've bought it here.
I've forgotten what it looks like. So yeah, it's all right. UK is cool. The venue was really cool. The event itself was amazing, honestly. One of the better events I've been to. They actually cooked us food at the venue,
Oh, sweet.
and you had a choice. It was really nice.
Yeah,
So like they do in
sometimes when
Pyro,
events are
but it's
going out.
it's not as posh as what we had in Pyro, but you can't beat a sausage butty and chips when you're
Yeah, so
playing.
was it like
40K.
a live cooking show? You're playing, and then the guy comes with a cart to your table, and he's doing the magic.
You
making a
really,
meal for you.
really, really overestimate the capabilities of the UK.
I'm pushing it, right?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it was
Well-
really good. I really enjoyed it actually for my first one. So yeah, it was good.
Excellent. So, what exactly is the Battle of Britain, though? Is that like what we have in Poland, the Polish Team Championship, or is it more competitive? I want to say
Well,
not as much a hobby celebration.
I think the easiest way to explain it is about 1,000 years ago, the Romans invaded the UK, and since then we've been at war with every country that resides within the UK. And the latest way we sort of like played this out is with Warhammer now. Instead of usual people, we use toy soldiers. So no, it's so what it is it's basically a few countries. So like you got both islands. I say both islands. Wales, Scotland, and England, they all send teams, and I think there's 12 teams this time, unless I'm really incapable of counting. No, there's 12 teams, and it's a 6v6 format. So all of the teams, England sent 3, Scotland sent 2, Ireland sent 1, Northern Ireland sent 2, and I think Wales sent 3, if the math is correct there. But either way, there's 12 teams.
3
so-
England, 3 Scotland,
72
you
people.
said, I think.
No, not 3
22.
Scotland, 2 Scotland.
No, okay.
Wales No, sorry, 3 Scotland. 3 Scotland, because, 3
2
Scotland,
Northern Islands.
2 Northern
1
Ireland,
1 regular
2
island.
Wales. Yeah, 1 regular island, and 2 or 3
3
Welsh.
Wales.
It's really
3
hard to
Welsh.
fucking to count, to be fair.
It would have
Yeah,
been
3
easier
Wales,
if
3
they
Wales.
if the names were actually like normal, but they're not necessarily like super happy fun team. It's good they've got Wales in the
Yeah.
bracket.
Super fun team.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so has this always been a 6v6? Has it always been an event of this size, or do
So
you not actually
this is
know the
my-
like history behind
I
it?
don't know. I don't know. This is my first
Ah,
time.
okay.
This is my first time. From what I've spoken to people. So I know people that went last year, of course, and the year before, and I believe they were 6v6 as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been running quite a long time, I believe. So run
Yeah,
by
I've-
Gads from Team Wales.
I've seen it from time to time on Tourney Keeper back in the day.
Mhm.
So yeah, it
Mhm.
was there for sure, at least at one point. So and is this event of any significance in terms of like
How dare you?
Team
How
England?
dare you? Now that I've won an event, how
You know,
fucking dare you?
let me finish the
How
fucking
dare you
sentence.
devalue my successes? Hang on.
Okay, so clearly this was the most important event of the year. So that's fantastic.
WTC as well. Yeah, fucking nothing. Right?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, this is at least one that the English can actually win, right? So that's nice.
Oh my god.
No, but back
Fucking
to my
Christ.
actual question. So, is this event of any significance in like in terms of the Team England building process selection? Because I have the impression that it was somewhat coordinated, at least the English teams, by the, let's call it, the Team England 40k community.
So I would say, so it's an interesting question because on the one hand, in 40k, most of my experience in 40k has been in Poland and with the Polish team. However, as a fully fledged or now 50% Brit, these kind of events are always about pride, right? So they may not be the biggest event in the country, or in the world for 40k, but when you've got all these countries under the umbrella of the United Kingdom or the Great British Isles, it's about pride. So there's that element to it. But then in terms of actual the importance of it from a perspective of trying to find candidates for the team, I do think there was that element. We did a lot of practice and a lot of it was a really good bonding event, I would say. So, for example, within my team, we had quite a few calls over matrices, over lists. We did a lot of test games between ourselves. So whilst it may, to the outside world, it may not have been the most important or the biggest event, for us, we took it seriously as if it was like a WTC. And I know the other 2 English teams did that as well. I know like some teams did, but some teams did not. Like I think Ireland used it as a way to sort of test 3 of their candidates. Same with Wales and Scotland. Mm-hmm. But for England, it was more of a sort of, it was a very serious event for us, and we did a lot of background work to build up to it.
Okay, great stuff. And so can you walk us through of how were the teams built then in some way?
In what sense? Like in people or in armies or?
Yeah, well, probably in people at this stage, because armies then, or whichever actually came first. So like, was it a thing that you're building 3 teams kind of like in parallel simultaneously to get the best team comps out there, or was it a matter of splitting people in one way or another, and obviously then within those teams picking out armies that would build the best
equal talent distribution and so on?
Equal talent distribution, that sounds good. So I will say this. So I don't fully understand the motivations from the English leadership, because obviously they have their motivations, and what they say and what they want to do is going to be slightly different for reasons. Looking at it, they had 2 teams of people that they sort of relatively knew in terms of how they play and their exposure that they've had in the past, and then I think 1 team of more newer candidates that Tony took. that wasn't
Mhm.
as well perhaps known in either the local scene or the WTC scene in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That
All right,
does
so
I'll
it
not
for
before
me.
make jokes on which one came third, but we'll say no. I'm joking.
I need to ask, basically, because I know very little about this event. So I've seen BCP, I've seen the results, I've seen everything. But when it comes to the tables that you play on and so on, are those UKTC because this is happening in the UK, or is it WTC because this is a preparation for something bigger later in?
It's a good question. It was all WTC. So it was all WTC tables. We had 2 medium, 2 light, 2 heavy. It was all WTC approved sort of missions. I think in a similar order as that was played at WTC. I could be wrong. And it was WTC scoring as well, plus the WTC FAQ. So it was entirely WTC based and not UKTC. Thank God for that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't think UKTC has like a pack for a 6v6, does it?
You know what?
One
No,
day.
we've got the ITT right. So we've
Yeah,
got
what
the
did you say?
ITT next weekend, and apparently they released a bunch of changes in October, but obviously we've just been so busy with the Battle of Britain, we haven't even looked at it. And then I looked at one of the maps yesterday, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, oh my god. It's just like, what is terrain is a question you would ask, right? What is terrain? Who needs a safe way of holding an objective?
No,
So
but
I'm
it's actually really interesting because I've been away for a year, and now coming back to the hobby. When I listen to coverages from different events and so on, it seems that the approach has changed a lot. First of all, there are more teams events now, but also like in America, I think what they do is they mix up the like terrain
Mhm.
packs, right? So they do a bit of GW mixed with WTC, mixed with FLG, and so on and so on. So maybe that would be an idea for an ITT going forward to do just that as well. Like, not reinvent the wheel, just take something practical that is there already.
That would be amazing. However, I don't think that they'd do that because I guess that would be them admitting defeat that their system's crap. I shouldn't say that actually. Yeah, I'm gonna get stabbed or something when I get there. No, I think, I think their tables are all like just way too open and way too shooting orientated. I do like as you say, what America have done, where they've sort of mixed it. So they've got some GW, some sort of like some of their own ideas, and then some WTC. I think that just changed things up really well.
Yeah.
The issue with UKTC is, unfortunately, it's there's not really much differentiation between small, medium, and heavy. Or like medium and heavy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except maybe one terrain rotating like 45 degrees, and that's it. So I'm not looking forward to it.
So before we jump to how people did and so on, I saw that Kyle was on one of the teams playing Tau. So do you think that his results were what they were because it was on the UKTC tables, and Tau would have done differently on a?
No, it was on WTC tables.
Sorry, WTC tables, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's used to playing on UKTC. I can't really. How do you say things diplomatically? Do I think Tau performed as good as they should have? No. Right. Personally, I do not. I've seen Tau perform at a better level when we've gone on WTC. I do think that might be a case of perhaps a lot of people not practicing, like you say, on WTC maps, but also having the right estimations. So, like, I'm looking at what I would, obviously being a Tau player as well, ascertain as like a red or an orange pairing, but then see some of the Tau players pick it up. So I'm thinking either there's something going wrong in the pairings or there's just a bad estimation, and then they get a loss. So I do think they did perform decently, but they could have performed better. Mm-hmm. But who am I to judge?
Yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, Joker, back to you.
Yeah, so I want to comment on the tables because that's what we were talking about with the guys behind Talavera last week. So they are doing they're also playing a 6v6, but they've got 5 WTC maps and a GDubs one for one reason or another, which is mixing
terrain
it up,
difference,
right?
Maybe, yeah.
No, the point they made was that it's an event that attracts a lot of new/casual players, so that would be something that they're more familiar with. So have it as a way of them bringing them into the competitive environment, if you will.
Okay.
It's just what they're doing.
Anyway.
Yep.
Sure.
Anyway, so your team then, what did you guys take, and why did you go for those factions, not other ones? And
Let's start.
tell us a little bit
Let's
about
start with
that
the
stuff.
Yeah, let's start with the journey then, I think. So and this is probably an important aspect of it, is Naz had an idea that what we'll do is we'll take a team of tanky lists that are harder to beat. They have small wins, not have big wins, but they have small wins, but they're tanky and it's a skew. So we started with Naz with his 18 Bulgarian. We started with me on Votan. We started Sisters with all their tank spam, Necrons with their Monolith and their whatever the Vault. Nids with like heavy monster Nids. Yeah, sort of, yeah, exactly. Stampede's heavy monster, and then Thousand Suns, because the Jack only plays Thousand Suns and Guard, with a bunch of Vortex Beasts. And then not Data Slate, but the MFM dropped. And I was like, no, we'll take GSC. So we decided we'll take GSC because it's going to score higher. It's more consistently a higher scorer. And then we sort of navigated a little bit away from our idea of let's just take this tanky archetype. And we sort of tried to just hone in on what the best list at the time was that actually plays into what we perceive would be the meta. So we ended up actually with the same things, but more Vanguard Nids. Everybody else was the same, but me. I changed to GSC from Votan, and then we went to Vanguard Nids from, I think it was Crusher, with a little bit of changes to the units. So, but yeah, we built what we could, what we thought we foresaw the meta to evolve into, and I think we were quite right actually. So.
Okay. And were you also involved in the pairings, etc., or were you just playing what you've been given?
So we, first and foremost, we did a full estimation of each of our armies. So like we had every meta army kind of archetype that we thought of. So that might be things like Recadre Tau, Monster Nids, a Horde Nids, like Admech infantry, Admech vehicle spam, etc. So we had a big list of about like 50 archetypes or something. And then our job was then to put in our estimations into that table. Kind of try and figure out where we had some gaps, where we had some quite a lot of oranges or whatever, some things that don't overlap, and work it from there. That's how we sort of created our list, basically. We said actually we're lacking into this, and this. So I was like, right, I'll take a GSC list that can play into this, and this. Then we had to build our estimations. So what we did was over like a few days, we looked at all the lists, build estimations. Then we had I think it was a 2-hour phone call with all the lists and the estimations. And then we kind of agreed who would attack and defend there and there based on what the opponent would do. So when it came to the table, there was no need to have 6 chefs at the table. We just had Naz and Jack. So I'm always happy to join in on pairings, given I have experience. But at the same time, if they're comfortable doing it, which they were, there's no need to have so many voices butting in. So it's a case of trust the captain and trust the pairers. And take what you got. And I only got one bad matchup in all my estimations, which actually turned out not to be a bad matchup. So that helps. Ish.
Okay. So
All right.
had
is it testament to
4 good ones and a bad estimation?
Yeah. Is it is it testament to the power of the GSC now, or
yes and no. Like exactly. Obviously. No. I think the GSC is really good. I think they're not the best army in the game. I do think, however, if you know more than your opponent and you know how to pilot it more than your opponent knows how to pilot theirs, and you understand the game a little bit better, it does exacerbate how good GSC is, which is probably the issue because it's just hard to balance, right? Also, this is really weird because Tomek is muted but not, and he talks and then half a second later I hear it.
Yeah, because he's got this duality going on. There's a Tomek Cam and a Tomek Mike.
Yeah,
Schrodinger's Tomek.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I bought a stationary computer and stationary, yeah. So a normal computer, not a laptop, and I don't have an inbuilt camera, so I need to go buy with an iPhone serving as a camera, and my headphones working as the mic
I
and
see.
sound and thing. So
I see.
First
that's
world
why,
problems.
yeah, I'll try to sort it
Yeah.
out for the next time.
First world issues, yeah. I forgot what we were saying.
So yeah, so the question was, was your the state of your matrix and so on a testament to your skill and knowledge of the army, or the army being strong, or maybe people not knowing what they are playing against that much?
I think the biggest takeaway from this, and this is what I say to everybody, is this right now, the way the game works in 10th is the more practice you have and the more knowledge you have, the better you are than your opponent. Gone are the days where someone can take a really broken army and a list and just pilot it like a goblin and still win. So when I practice a lot and I have, I search out pairings and I try and build an estimation table over time, I get the knowledge that necessarily my opponent doesn't have, which gives me the edge in that matchup, right? And I think that's not a bragging situation. That's a case of if you put in the effort, you will get the results now, rather than you can take early 10th edition Wraith Knights and just put in a win for no reason, which is good, right? Which is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
The meta's in a healthy place in that sense. So my estimations were correct, apart from one, which I put as a loss, and it turned out to be a big win. But that was also a case of, I think, a player skill gap, which, no offense to the guy, he's sort of been playing the game, I think, 6 months in competitive side. So, whereas I had not. So it's a case of, but it was good as well because I could help teach him a little bit of, micro things I did wrong, etc. So it was quite an enjoyable game. So yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the games themselves? Who did you guys play? Round one. What was the estimations coming out of the pairings? And then a little bit about your actual game.
Sure. So round one was... Where are we? Round one was... So round one was, I think, like a sort of test team from Northern Ireland. I think they had a few people that hadn't necessarily played a lot, or they were perhaps new to teams, etc. But we played into Team Northern Ireland Mournival. So Hulsey, I know Hulsey plays quite often. I don't really know everybody else. But it was kind of a bit of a blowout. So, like, I think we had, apart from my estimation being a small loss, everybody else, I think, estimated as to a small win, which means we kind of really won the pairings here. But it was a case of we won 107-13. So, you can see my screen. Oh,
yeah.
Let's get rid of some of them tabs. No, I'm joking. So you can see here that I can just zoom it out. We had quite a solid win here, but at the same time, the opponents were really good, and it was good for me because this was probably my worst mission as well. I think it was Purge, if I remember correctly. Which was it Purge? I can't remember. No. It was terrible. I don't really know actually. I can't remember. It's been 3 days since then. But yeah, it was good opponents, but I think it was more of a you get your first round one, and it's not really the right skill match. But it was enjoyable. There's not much else to say really.
And when you
how
look
many
at
rounds did you actually play? You played
No.
5 rounds?
Tomek first, sir. Tomek first. Go on, Tomek.
Thank you. No, I wanted to ask about the matrix and then how the pairings came out. Was this actually what you were going for, and were you happy with those pairings leaving the pairing table, or did they get more favorable matchups but didn't capitalize on them?
Let me just pull up our pairings and I'll tell you. But I do think that we got the pairings that we wanted. So I think this is another thing as well, is there's you can win, you can outplay your opponent on the table, and you can outplay your opponent in the pairings.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that in such a harsh way because that sounds
no, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, right?
But yeah, exactly. But from looking at it on our notes, we predicted 5 small wins and 1 small loss, which was me. And we also got the tables that we wanted, and we did have everyone apart from me was correct in their estimations. I still maintain that mine's not meant to be a blowout win. It's more of a draw. But it is what it is.
I think your list differentiation, or maybe even skew, as you said at the very beginning, like with a lot of heavy hitters with big models like big tanks, big Tyranid models, and so on and so on, was just a better suit versus what the other guys were. Like, it seems that Death Guard, Custodes, Grey Knights, those are armies with similar profiles and similar sort of, I don't want to say mechanics because that's not going to come out right, but like similar things they can face, and it's just not the things that you had in your list.
Yeah, the idea with playing not an 8v8, so this doesn't necessarily work in an 8v8 because you've got a lot of options for this to go wrong. But if you work in a 6v6 or especially a 5v5, the idea is if you take one variation of skew, you will have like 3, maybe 4 matchups where they can't necessarily handle that skew because they may have taken a more balanced army composition or whatever. So as an example here, in the last ITT I came against England, and it was very much a vehicle monster skew. And so if you couldn't handle, if every list or half your list can't handle vehicle monsters, then you're going to lose them matchups, right? So that kind of puts you ahead already. Yep. Exactly. And that's what we were going for here. And it was a case of, they couldn't necessarily handle it, and they didn't have enough answers for each of our pairings, basically.
Yeah, absolutely paid off, as we can see by the scores, like all greens on the right. So
just a little.
What flavor of GSC did you actually take? Because I don't think we've covered that.
So I took a different version of my Biosang tick list that I've been playing a lot of. So I took more of a less ridge run and more. I took rock grinders. I took a bit more of an MSU plus mechanized approach, which worked out really well on these kind of tables. It allowed me to just hit more armies with a win, but it also made me quite volatile on my losses.
Okay.
So like there was one round where I had to be babysat a little bit, which is fine. Happens.
Okay. Moving on, round 2.
Okay, let's go round 2. Round 2. Oh, I hate BCP. All right, so we did so well, and Team England, the other England team, did so well that we ended up pairing into each other. So this was an interesting round, actually, because it was a lot of, not, I do apologize. It was a lot of sort of mirrors, but also not mirrors. So, for example, we had 2 GSC versus Sisters matchups. So I went against Robo playing Sisters, and our Sisters went against Tom on their team playing Sisters. And then we had Naz taking the mirror. Naz seems to love the fucking mirror. So this was a really good round, actually. The only issue is I think in the matchup where we were supposed to do well, I think the Sisters versus GSC, the Sisters kind of had a few unlucky moments which dropped their points. And this was a ritual. So if you've got a high tempo list, it's very possible for you to just push your opponent if you go first and deny their scoring, right? Which means if your opponent's playing a high tempo, they do push you, and they have a little bit of too much of a good turn. It kind of becomes a problem to dig them out and start spawning your secondaries, which is what I think happened in this Sisters and GSC game, which, in all honesty, it's a 10-10 draw, if you ask me, and mine was a 10-10 draw, so I estimate correctly. But then the problem with this is because we had these sort of flips, so you can see we lost 4-16, 4-16, 10-10 draw, 10-10 draw, then 1-16-4. We got to a game then at the last game where it was like, actually, they needed one more point for Kyle, I think, or 1 draw in order for them to win.
Yeah, the 10-10 would have been a win for them.
Exactly. And then so we actually ended up drawing 55-65. And I'm not going to point fingers at all about Jonathan. I didn't see the game, and I'm not here to say he did it incorrectly or whatever. That's not where I'm at. But for me, I think we did take a bit of a loss with this being a 4-16. Thousand Suns, I think we estimated 2 points more, so that's not within the realms of the impossibility. But I think all the others were definitely on point, and Naz was absolutely gunning for Harley and his mirror because he hates Rogel Dawns. and killed it turn 1. So
Sweet. Is the ritual a
so-
mission that is played in UKTC, by the way?
Israel what,
Like-
sorry?
So
No.
that's what I thought. So maybe people weren't used to that mission if they are UKTC players.
I do think that actually that's a very, very, very good point, and this is something I made at the start, and I tried to get, for example, like I played against Greg with this to get it, so make sure he had more practice. But there is an element where if you don't fully comprehend how to play the ritual and you go second and your opponent rushes you, you're going to have a struggle. It's going to be really
Absolutely.
difficult to dig it back. And I do think possibly there's an element of that lack of experience. But again, I haven't seen the game. I'm not going to shit on Jonathan whatsoever. He did well all weekend. He just didn't get the score that we expected, and it happens. You can't control everything, right? But other than that, I thought it was a really good round. I don't feel like we were outpaired necessarily, because we were estimating 2 draws, 2 wins, or 3 draws, 2 wins, and a loss. So it was just, yeah, it was a good round, I think.
And the opponents, like if you look at those names, those top players, like UKTC top.
Yeah, we've got Radford here. Oh shit, what have I done there? Radford, we've got Nathan Roberts, another Robbo, Matt Robertson. Everyone knows Kyle Grundy. Greg's a natural at UKTC constantly. Nazim, everyone knows Nazim. And then the others, not necessarily as known, but still really good players. It was a really good round. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Would you say it was a premature final?
It felt like a final, I think. There was a lot of not drama. Actually, there was some interest in which we'll not go into because it's like we don't want to like share or try and create bad stories or not. What's the word? Exacerbate what happened. But there was some spicy situations on some tables. Let's say that. But yeah, no, it was definitely what I would consider a final. Maybe it could have been an even better final had Jonathan picked up more than 4 points. But no, I'm joking. He's a lad. We did really well. So that happened. So that was more of a like, we've done that. We've hit England. We've drawn. Now it's a case of, right, let's just win all of our next sort of games. And we're in a good position to, we'll podium for guaranteed, or we will maybe get first place. So now it's a case of, right, we've done the hard bit. Let's just start getting big points. So the next one is we went to the next Northern Irish team. And this one was, I believe, Purge. I think it was Purge. Was it Purge? Yeah, it was Purge. It was Purge. Fucking hate this mission. So we played on Purge. I think we also got some really good. I think Naz did a fantastic job here, getting Naz and Jack getting the pairings that we wanted. There was definitely an element on the Northern Irish team where I think they felt that they did well in the pairings. I could see they were a bit giddy at times, especially when I got paired into Astra Militarum. And Astra Militarum got to pick tables. That was fun. They picked the wrong table. I tried to explain that to them. But it was, I think they definitely was happy with some of their pairings. We were happy with ours. And then it's just a case of playing out the games and who's got the right estimations in. Yeah, exactly. Everyone thinks their estimations are correct. But no, the Northern Irish are a lovely set of lads. Obviously, this is towards the end of day 1, sorry, the third game of day 1. Everyone's had some beers. Everyone's a bit tired. Everyone's a bit hungry as well because it's towards 8 p.m. when we finish. It wasn't a big blowout, but it also was quite a resounding win. We all got wins apart from Greg, who drew with Dylan. Pretty funny actually, because it was Pose the Foe, which is kill more, hold more, and Greg playing Tyranids didn't kill a single Eldar unit until turn 4.
Wow.
Yes. So Greg was having the time of his life. Yes, exactly. I mean, to his benefit, Dylan was playing giant ass fucking Wraith Knight. Yes, Wraith Knights are back. That's fun. So no, it was. I could see that Greg was a bit like, "What the fuck is going on? What am I doing?" But no, we had some really good games. I finally got to play against Guard, which I've been gunning for all weekend because Naz kept stealing them. So I finally get to get Guard myself, which was good. It's a good matchup. But the rest of the matchups were absolutely solid. So happy with the guys getting all their points.
Care to share more why you think GSC into Guard is a good matchup for the GSC? What's your reasoning behind it? And is it very much list/detachment dependent on the GSC side?
I think it's definitely detachment. The issue for Guard is great. If you can drop down your Aquilons, fantastic. However, I can give a living fucking shit if I'm honest with you. I have a bunch of flamers. I have strats that allow me to pile in and consolidate 6 inches. So I can make the movement whenever I want to. The Aquilons coming down aren't a problem for me. As long as if I go first, I make all the distance I want. And then they've got to come down in areas that they don't want to come down because they can't stop me, right? That's the idea. If they go first, then it's a case of I've got one turn, I just push into the mid board, try and use, obviously, line of sight, survive a bit, and then when they do drop down, it doesn't really matter. So the issue is once all their Aquilons have gone, they've not really got anything that stops me getting to their tanks. And once I hit the tanks, it's game over. So if we're
go on, sorry.
No, go on. No, please.
So suppose you would take your best Outlander Claw list to the same tournament in the same matchup. Would it perform as well as Biosanctic?
It's a very good question. Outlander Claw has different matchups, so different greens and different reds. Against Guard, I don't fancy Outlander as much as I would with Biosanctic because of the nature of how Biosanctic plays. So I wouldn't take it Guard necessarily with Outlander, though it's more that I'm going to come and I'm going to take a draw. However, it will absolutely run down some other things like Sisters. It will run down Sisters, where I would take a draw if I was taking Biosanctic. And it will run down the Eldar list that Dylan was playing, which if I play Biosanctic, I don't necessarily want because can't always kill Wraith Knights, to be fair. So the question is it better? I don't think so. Some people will disagree. I think it all depends on what kind of playstyle you prefer and how you can utilize the best of which playstyle the most. So me being predominantly a melee person, I really like playing melee. That's my skill set. Outlander is not as good for me. I can still play it, but... So if you're asking me, Tomek, if you take Outlander, will you win? Yes, you can win, Tomek. There we go. See, that's what you wanted to know, really. So basically, it was good pairings. We did really well all the way around. The team did really well. I think Northern Ireland did their best. They did put up some difficult games at first, and then obviously, as the game progresses, and you take advantage of minor mistakes, etc., you can obviously blow out the win, like in some pairings that we did. But yeah. It was they did play well, I think, despite the score, and they were really good opponents.
Yeah, great stuff. Round 4.
I've got to hit BCP. Round 4 was who was round 4? Scotland. Oh, Innes. Yes, we had Scotland. Where's Haggis? No, that's not Haggis. Which one is it? Fucking Neeps. It was Neeps, wasn't it? Where's our Neepies? Scottish Neeps. Okay, cool. So Innes brought friends. So in this, why have we got Sam Nash Ireland undefeated? Actually, we'll talk about Ireland in a minute because I have to give some props to Ireland and we'll talk about them shortly. So our fourth game was against Innes and some of the former or current Team Scotland players, as well as some that aren't necessarily that want to be, and they're just getting their feet wet into 40k at a higher level. I think so. This was a case of Innes definitely got his matchup. How on earth we managed to get Thousand Suns into GSC, I'll never know, because that's like a flat out 0-20 for poor Jack. My God, didn't even buy him breakfast after. Didn't even get a pillow to bite on. But no, he took it like a champ. We wasn't expecting many points from that. The rest of the pairings all went absolutely swimmingly well. All the lads did, absolutely crushed it. So there's not much to say here. My opponent was absolutely lovely. We was on stream. I think he was it's a case of he didn't fully understand the matchup. I played a different detachment. I thought he didn't really make that many mistakes, but when you make a minor mistake, it's kind of, especially against some armies, it's kind of easy to sort of just jump on that and close the game out from them. But other than that, he was a really lovely guy. Wish him best of luck with the rest of the year. The rest of the team were really, really cool lads. But it was a bit of a decent win for us. So we got 88-32. Again, Naz stealing all the Astra Militarum matchups, by the way, which is not cool, right? Like, you got to share some. Naz just sees a giant Rogel Dawn. It gets a fucking erection. He's like, I'm taking it, lads. I'm taking it. And to be fair, he does kill it turn one. The other guys get sad, and it is what it is. But nah, fair play to Naz, to be honest with you. So yeah, Naz was just smashing all the mirrors. I think he smashed all mirrors all weekend. Apart from the one round I got the Astra Militarum. Our Necrons dunked on their Thousand Suns. Our sisters had a great game into Death Guard. And finally, Greg had a lovely game into Sisters, it seems. So I think we were really happy about this round. We scored enough points at this point where I think we're 5 points ahead of England. So it's a case of, right, we're really, really pumped up, really hyped. We need to do well in our next round in order to get top place. Any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask what was the leaderboard looking like at this point. So, but you've already said that.
So
did any other teams still have a shot at winning at this point, or was it just?
Until this happened, I think actually Innis's team was probably in the running to win as well, because they had some really good rounds before that. England, the other English team, of course, because they'd got 1 draw and 2 wins at this point, or 3 wins at the end of this. They were also in the running to win it. It was all came down to points. And that was it, really. So that was it. But it was a case of, it was quite exciting as well, because we knew we could win it, and it was we have to get as many points as possible. So I think everyone was like, yeah, let's go.
And I wanted to ask about like the potentiality of a Gene Stealer mirror in this one. Was this something that you were actively trying to avoid, or especially against Innis, or or would you be okay with playing this?
So, all right, this is gonna sound like a fucking cop out. So, first and foremost, I made my list to not play into GSC. So I took a more MSU approach. What that allowed me is I could be more efficient in my army, more efficient in what I traded to in other armies. What it did do, however, is it made me really susceptible to GSC, especially a Biosanctic list that had 10 pure strains, because I cannot kill all of them. Mm-hmm. Whereas they can kill me back because they have more power in their units. So what that means is they win the trade-off, essentially. He had more flamer units as well, because naturally that's how he likes to play. I had more mech. And then it was a case of, if he got back more bigger units and I got back smaller units, then I would lose. So before we even paired, I fully said to him and my team, I don't want the mirror. I will lose the mirror flat out. One day, Innis and I will play, and it will be glorious and it'll be really good fun. But at this point, there was no reason to try and win a losing game on Pride when we wanted to win the event. So
yeah, of course.
And I have one. Joker, can I go?
Go.
Strictly hypothetical question, because we could have touched upon this at the very beginning, but you are also a well-known Votan player. And in this particular matchup, or like in this particular round, do you think that bringing Votan would present any value, and having Votan in your hands, or not really?
So the reason why I'm not playing Votan right now is GSC really good, but the problem with Votan is it's consistent until it's not. So it has no anti-snowball mechanics, and what that means is, let's say something doesn't go wrong. It's a fair army. So let's say something doesn't go wrong, something goes a little bit wrong in my turn, or my opponent has a good go in theirs. I've no real way to dig myself out of that shit situation, because there's no tricks. There's no efficiency in the sense there's no rerolls or anything like that. It's a case of, if my opponent hits me and the second I start losing, it's really hard to stop that snowball. And I don't like that. So there's a world where the consistency with Votan's good. You can take it into safe matchups where they don't necessarily have That, or you can just say, right, I'm going to go get 8s, 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 or 10s and play for that. However, with this dynamic, we wanted to get as many points as possible. And with GSC providing the skill set and the tricks available, it was just better for me to take that, which we'll get into in a second because I did actually play against Votan in my last round.
Oh, there you go. So,
yeah,
cool.
Spoiler alert.
Before we go to that, Joker, you had a question?
Yeah, but I forgot what it was.
Fantastic stuff. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad. Round 5. When my laptop is it dying? No, it's overheating. That's great. So round 5 we had. All right. So first and foremost, let's give a big clap to Ireland. So at this point, Ireland are drawed. They've drawed every single game. They are 4 draws. They are the draw fucking masters, right? And I went to Sam. Sam being my teammate is on Ireland, and I said to him, right, Sam, what I really need from you and your guys, and I give them a little pep talk, which no one listened to me about. But I said to him, right, what I really need you to draw against England, because if you draw, it gives us a better chance to win. If they draw and we win, points don't matter, we win the event. And they were all like, no, we're not going to draw. It's England. You know, what can we do? I was like, no, you can do this. You've got this, right? And then, fuck me, they drew. They drew. And it was like, it was a very close draw, but they fucking drew. So, absolute champions.
Interesting matchups in there, like Chaos Space Marines versus Sororitas 20-0. Eldari 14-6. Those are interesting scores.
So I think this is a really interesting one. I think actually this matchup here is more interesting than the rest of them, and I say that as me being on another team. And the reason for that is there's no real. So first and foremost, they always defended with Sam because his CSM gun line and needs a table flat out. He gets one of them tables where you've got nothing in the middle, and it's like you've got quite an open flank. He's going to win 20-0 naturally if he goes, especially if he goes first. That's how he's built the list. This is how he's tested. This is the only thing he can do in the world is just go first on as a first defender. So I have no idea why. And I think I don't want to paraphrase or say this incorrectly about about Rebel, what he told me, but I think they didn't quite know what the estimation was. So I think they just defended with Matt. They attacked with Matt and some. I don't know who else they attacked with. I think it was a case of no one else wanted to play it. Harley wanted an open table himself, so they defended with Harley, from what I understood. And I guess Nathan with his Tyranids didn't want to play that matchup. So, or maybe because I don't fully know, maybe from the perspective of Islanders, is they attacked with Sisters and they wanted to take Sisters off the table. So they did, and Sam went first and just shot the shit out of Sisters, which fair play.
Yeah. As one
What's
does.
really interesting, as one does, yeah. The Tyranid, the Tau into Eldari is what's really interesting because Sam says Nathan and Robbo attacked and Harley defended. Okay, I said all that, Sam. I didn't say Nathan to defend. Nathan attacked and you didn't want to take Tyranids is actually probably fair play with all their fucking giant guns. Tau I guess, I don't know how the Tau and Eldar came about, but like, I'm not sure why that even did happen. Maybe this is a wrong estimation, or maybe this was a case of we need someone to I don't know, take the Eldar. I don't know, but this is.
But do we know if this was like Eldar MSU versus typical?
I can tell you, this is Eldar Wraith Knight, a fucking Wraith Knight, with the avatar of Kane and a bunch of MSU stuff. And I think it was a lot of
hearing it. You're saying it plural, Wraith Knights, as in two of them?
One. Sorry, one. That would be my atrocious English language. I'm so sorry. I'll try better.
Thank God it's only that, not so PTSD isn't kicking in as such.
No, it was one Wraith Knight. It was a Wraith Knight. It was a avatar of Kane, some dirty Reapers, and just a bunch of MSU. And I think because Kyle took Ret Cadre, which is a bit more, it's going to be a bit harder. It's a bit harder to kill, I guess, the Wraith Knight when he's -1 to wound. And you're wounding him on 6s with melters. And I think it's a bit harder. It's a bit easier for the MSU style of Eldar to kill the Tau because it's all crisis suits and stealth suits and things like that. Maybe that's a case of why it works. Would have to ask Colin or Kyle to give us more of a rundown because I'm not sure. But Chris Radford, 20-0 in Grey Knights with Space Wolves is cool. Chris Radford's list is really cool, actually. You know what? Let's just get it up because it's nice to see someone not running Thunderwolf Cavalry. So we'll do it very quick.
It not
2 minutes.
Thunderwolf Cavalry?
It is not, actually. It's really cool, and I really wanted to test this myself. So it's Bjorn. It's the Champions of Rust, which is also really fucking cool, right? And then it's Ragnar Ulrich, captain. So there's none of the whatever he's called. What's he called? Shit. What's the what's Slay Man called? What's Santa called?
Logan
Logan. There's no Grimnar. But he's got a max squad of Bloodclaws, and then just a ton of, where are they? Wolfen,
By the way,
big packs of Wolfen.
we cannot see the list because it's a different window.
Did you click view list?
Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm so sorry.
Oh, there we
go.
go.
Technology, boys and girls. Technology is really hard. I just got up. So yeah, he's got the 4 characters. Bjorn is really cool because he kind of allows you to unlock one of the achievements in Champions of Rust, which is like get your character below half health and survive. But he's got basically 10 Bloodclaws and then 4 lots of 10 Wolfen, 10 Vanguard veterans with jump packs, and then just a bunch of MSU stuff. And it's a really, really cool list. So I guess it's a case of I'm just going to throw all this at you, and if you can't deal with it, you're fucked kind of list. And I like that. I like this meta pressure. And an Impulse and a Rhino, because why not? But 30 Wolfen, man. Like, no Thunderwolf Cavalry, 30 Wolfen. I can fucking dig it. I like it.
Yeah. I mean,
it's my favorite list of the event.
That's what I thought we'd see in the Space Wars list, the Rise of Wolfen at the expense of Thunderwolf Cavalry. But this is the first one I'm seeing, so.
It's my favorite list.
And in the hands of Chris, who is an avid Space Wolves player, it's just a perfect sort of mixture.
He's very good. So like again, once again, thank you, Island. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Chef's kiss. Like they drew and it was glorious. And then where are we? We're around here somewhere. Yes, we had one of the Welsh teams. So we had, which has, I believe, a couple of Welsh players. One of the old England coaches, Scrivo. And yeah, this was an interesting round. I think this was one of the harder rounds, I would say, in terms of like player quality, apart from England's. I think the guys did really well. Greg got an unfortunate loss against Orcs. Not a problem, it happens. Naz finally got another Astra time, so I think that's 3 for the weekend. I think he had 3, but this one did not have a Rogel Dawn, so Naz was less erect as usual, but still absolutely smashed the mirror. Great draw, Thousand Suns and Chaos Knights. They were playing on the table next to me. I looked over and I swear like nothing had died all game. They were playing a very cagey, what is it? It was Hidden Supplies and Taken Hold, so they were playing a very cagey game. We had an absolute blowout, Sisters versus Dark Angels. Necrons beating CSM with Matt. I then played against Leagues of Votan. Not my greatest game in terms of playing. At this point, honestly, I was a bit unwell. I had like a bit of a migraine, so I was like, I wasn't even sure I was going to win. Yeah, I wasn't even sure I was going to win. I just couldn't really play properly. I also failed a bunch of 5-inch charges, which is nice. All game. Yeah, but this is more the point as I would try to make with the Votan is there were a couple of cases where it just didn't work out well for Tom, and he just had no way to unfuck that snowball. Which is why I'm just not in the Votan right now. When the Codex comes out for sure, I'm going to play it and I'm going to champion it again. I'm sure it has a lot more playability, but like
and potentially some new units as well.
There'll be new units for sure. I think 6 if I'm correct. But yes,
one new
so I played Yeah, probably. So I played Votan. I estimated it as a small win. It was going between 8 to 12 for both of us the whole game. You know, little increments that swung, little activations that didn't go right or did go right, and they swung the game. But it was on Votan's table, which wasn't a good table for me necessarily, and I did go first, which I've gone first every game. So great success. I also suffered, I think, resurrecting one unit that game, which I've actually the whole tournament I resurrected 8 whole units. I resurrected less units the whole tournament than Tom did in his first game.
So I've heard 1,600 points or something like that.
He resurrected 1,600, and I tallied it up, and I got 795 points the whole tournament. So it's a fucking great army roll.
Nice.
But yeah, we had a really good round here. Still a decent. It was closer than I think everyone wanted, especially when we was on the cusp of winning, and England were also dragging 5 points behind us. We needed to get more points in order to win the round. Win the whole thing. So, but then when we found out like England had drawn, it was like okay, we had 2 more games I think left to play. So I was like, actually, they've drawn, so you can chill a little bit, but. It was a good game. It was a good five games actually in terms of the whole event. Really enjoyed it.
May I ask what flavor were the orcs? Because I heard that Tom's list was very interesting, but I actually don't know what it was.
This is my second favorite list of the tournament because it's weird and I like it. I like weird. So it's Dread Mob. He's got 3 shock attack guns. So one ignoring cover, and I think one was I can't remember what Get Finder Goggles was, but I think Smoky Gubbins is the one that we ignore cover. A mech for buffing vehicles. He has 3 war bosses. All the Gretchen. You can see. Oh, you can see my screen. Fantastic.
Yeah,
all the Gretchen. A truck, a battle wagon, 2 lots of 5 flash kits, a Gorkanaut. Which is why he's got a mech. 3 lots of 10 looters, and then 3 lots of 5 knobs and 5 snow boys, and that's really cool.
Oh yeah, I heard the Gorkanaut was the star of that list.
I can imagine, yeah, with a mech and all the like +1 damage, +1 wound against monster vehicles. The strats on a Gorkanaut can just pop off, right?
It makes me really happy.
It's like the only unit using the detachment rules. Or am I getting this wrong?
No.
Very wrong.
Anything that a big mech or mech is attached to. Mech's not attached to anything, but the big mechs are all attached to the looters. So the looters will get the armor rules. The only thing that really is the knobs, the stone boys, the flash kits, the battle wagon, the truck, and that's it really. Obviously the war bosses attached to
knobs
the
with
but
war
they don't
bosses
need anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, they're fine as they are, like aberrants with abominants and GSC. Just a good
exactly. They just do their job, right? Yeah. They do their job, and I really like this kind of list. And I'm kind of jealous that I'm not playing it myself because this is really really cool. Just I don't own a Gorkanaut.
Stealing lists of the internet is commonplace in the 40k community.
Yeah, it's not how I like to. Yeah, but it's not how I like to play. To be honest with you, I don't like net listing.
And you can even tell that you've made it, so
that is how it works, right?
Exactly.
No, I have a lot of respect for this list. I think it's really cool. My second favorite, definitely really cool.
Okay, do you have a third favorite one?
Do I have a third favorite one? I liked. Where is he? Not the CSM, because I don't like CSM or any of the CSM or.
Were they all gun lines?
Yeah, that's so boring.
Abaddon's car park. Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, and sisters are also boring.
And ACDC in Chaos Space Marines?
I think someone took one. Oh, where is he? Where's Liam? Where is he? Yes. We'll find it this way, I think.
You've just had it though.
This is nice.
No?
Yeah, this one. Here we go. Okay. What happens if you just take 7 greater demons and nothing the fuck else?
Perfect.
This is such a cool list. Like I don't want to play against it because I imagine this is like the most frustrating list to play against. But honestly, Liam is such a cool and like really nice guy. And I could see he was actually having a ton of fun with it. But because he's such a nice guy, his opponents were also having a ton of fun with it. But my God, is this cool and fucking know at the same time.
But would you? So I find it
Literally
interesting.
nothing else.
There is nothing to do the missions. So would it be smarter to play fixed with this list?
That's a good question. I have no idea. Maybe he did. I don't know what he took. There's definitely one where you could probably do behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
And maybe an action in the middle, or just assassinate, or just bring it down and score like 8 points. But like you don't need to do if your opponent's dead. You don't care if you don't do second. Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of damage. And honestly, it's just 7 big fucking models. It's so untaxing on the brain. Like it's so like, oh, I'm just gonna push around.
And the games
This
are
is
quick.
like exactly. This is like alpha or Chad level of I'm gonna play Chaos Knights, and this is just doing it properly.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
The better way.
And imagine if you like put in all the time and effort to make all these look beautiful. I bet it's like the nicest army there. It didn't win Best Painted, but I bet it would be.
There is potential. Yeah.
There's definitely potential. It's so cool.
You've got the lineup, right? Got the lineup ready.
Yeah, exactly. Just cool, and the conversions as well. Just cool ass fucking models. So yeah, yep. Good event overall. Really enjoyed it. I'd love to go again. I think that despite the level of competition, despite the scores of like our team and the other England team, despite them scores, I think the level of competition was still really good. It was for a lot of teams. It was a balance of we're going to bring our experienced players, we're going to bring our new players. The experienced players are going to help coach and navigate them through how teams work, through the complexity of playing WTC and doing the matrices, and then the other the newer players then got to play that. There's not much bad sportsmanship, you could say. And all my opponents were lovely, and honestly, I had the best time. I will say shout out to the third England team. Where are you? Tony's team, who have absolutely mastered the art of the submarine. Who lost the first 2 rounds and managed to get third. So congratulations,
nice,
man.
Well done. Well done to them. Right, and what do you think of the overall meta at the event? I want to say, did anything surprise you, or the team compositions were more or less what you would expect?
In all honesty, I think a lot of them there was more overlap than I was expecting. So, like most teams took a CSM and a sisters and a guard. There was more Thousand Suns than I was honestly expecting.
There's been quite a few.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of overlap. A lot of teams were quite similar. Let's say like most teams had maybe the same 3 or 4 armies. The lists were kind of different in a sense. But I was, was there an Admech? I think there was an No, there was one Admech. Yeah, one Admech. I was expecting honestly more Admech. If I'm going to be honest with you, I was expecting maybe more orcs. We had one Drukari. I was Death Guard. I was expecting more Death Guard, I guess. I don't know. I think maybe I was expecting maybe like 2 or 3 overlaps and then extra armies, but it is what it is. It was still good to see because I think there's a lot of differentiation despite the fact that a lot of teams still took a lot of armies, and there's still some let's say discrepancy between the lists to make them a bit more unique. I mean, most sisters did still take 3 exorcists, right? But who's counting? Yeah.
So if we wanted to get your opinion on the potential top 8 armies for a team's composition right now, I mean, you did mention some of them, that the ones overlapping seem like the ones that would fall into that category. But in your eyes, what would be a potential WTC team army composition right now?
So I think you've definitely got like a sort of 5 staple with, let's say, guard, GSC, what they called, maybe CSM. I'm missing one. Sisters. So guard, GSC, CSM, sisters, and then a Space Marines of some sort. So I think they're sort of like ones that you would. I'm not sure they're the top of the meta, but I think they provide the most for a team. And then it's a case of sprinkling in the little extra. So like maybe your Tau or your Nids. Nids are really good, I think, being able to bring Nids in because they can sort of blunt a lot of armies right now. They got a lot of good buffs. I don't think they're like top 3 army, but I do think they were really good at blunting armies. We definitely saw that with our team. And then you've got to look at things like maybe Orcs, sprinkling them because they got some buffs. Where they're at in terms of like top 10 or whatever, I'm not fully sure, but I would definitely take them in a team's environment. I do think they do offer something. And then it's in basically there's not a lot of teams that you can't, not of armies you can't take, I would say, for like the last 2. Because
how about Necrons? Because we never mentioned them. Like, is Hypercrypt the go-to now? And then would you see them in the top 8?
Interesting, actually, because a lot of teams that I've noticed are starting to test with Phalanx, or Obsessions, Phalanx, Obsessions, whatever it's called, because that brings you more of a stable defender, not defender, but more of a it's more of a structured. I'm going to sit here and be a bit more tankier, which does provide something in teams. Hypercrypt is still good. It's really hard to be really shit at uppy downy. Same with Grey Knights, right? Hypercrypt and Grey Knights still have a place in teams because of this uppy downy threat. There's always something that they can get points from, and they can. There's always a lot of matchups that they can still win. They can still play the mission insanely well because of the uppy downy aspect. So Necrons and Grey Knights is something that I would always have in a team. I'm not necessarily Hypercrypt or Grey Knights. If it was me personally, I wouldn't have both of them because I think you only need one. Obsessions Phalanx is decent. I've seen some really good people. People have some really good results with that in testing. I think the others are probably not as good. I think they're more singles based lists.
Okay.
Are you just writing a list of what you want to start playing, Tomic? Is that what it is?
No. I'm just asking, for this to be informative. I'm just looking at the list of all the armies that are there, and we mentioned demons. Although a very specific flavor of demons. But I've seen a lot of people have extreme success with demons. Even in the Polish online TTS league, I see Jay constantly being on top of that league with his demons. Is that because demons do really well in singles, or do they actually bring some sort of value or answers to something in teams as well? So
demons, it's a really good question. The way I see it is demons is a skew, right? Everything's got an invulnerable save, whether it's 4+ or 5+. They're usually taking 4 monsters. And if they're taking something like Shalaxi and the Mask combination, then you're looking at a really high effective skew into melee. Now, when you're looking at a singles list for a lot of armies that aren't skew based, so like Knights are skew, so it's different for them. Demons are skew, it's different for them. When you're looking at armies, they prepare more of an all-comers list, right? So you've got to be able to handle anything the meta can throw at you. Whereas in teams, you don't need to do that. So singles, for example, if you were playing, let's say, Necrons, you'd have to be able to build a list that can play into, let's say, 100 bodies of Space Marines or, 14, whatever we're at to now, Armiger Knights or whatever. You've got to be able to play into every skew possible. Which means there's a case where people don't necessarily be able to handle demons, whilst being able to handle other things. And that's what, for makes it really good in singles, better than it is in teams, is you can just really lean in on and kind of punish lists that are not tailored and teched into being able to kill 4 big greater knights, especially one that's pretty unkillable. I haven't seen the Polish TTS. I've not been doing the Polish TTS for a while. So I haven't seen what's happening. I don't know if there's any other good players in there, but it might be a case of, hey, we're teching right now for, let's say, Gunline, CSM Gunline. We're
Yeah.
teching for sisters.
Astra
Not
Militarum.
Astra Militarum, not necessarily teching for demons. And people are probably like, hey, what's the difference? Because they're both monsters. There's a bit of a difference, I would say. You've got to have volume of shots to kill a big greater demon. You've got to have enough tech pieces to kill. Not tech pieces, sorry. You've got to have enough pieces to kill all the tech pieces so they don't score. I think it's harder to kill 4 greater demons, especially when one doesn't die, than it is to kill like 5 lemon russes, right?
What's that clicking thing?
Oh, sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
playing with my.
This is
Sorry, I'll stop.
so
that.
loud.
Is it?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it is.
what about
Sorry.
knights? Like any flavor of knights? I've played into knights in one of the online leagues recently, and they felt interesting. Although, like, I managed to draw without with custodies without bigger issues. So, are they useful in a team's environment in that they provide a skew as well, or they are predictable? They don't score that well. They fall flat against, the meta bullies right now.
So knights are really good when your opponent's team setup isn't built to deal with the skew of knights, and that sounds really duh. But like, let's say you've got sisters with 3 exorcists, 3 castigators, 2 immolators. You've got chaos demons with 4 big knights or 5 big knights, or like Liam's list, 7 big knights. Let's say you've got Votan with 5 Sagittars, 2 fortresses, and then you've got knights. If the opponent's team doesn't have the setup to take 2 or 3 of them on, then knights are good because they can bully, and because of the nature of how they are, if you go into an army that can't kill them, they will absolutely drown you in OC8 unkillable bodies. If, however, you take just CK, but then you take other archetypes and you don't really hone in on that, hey, this is our high toughness, I think they're harder to pair because you're going to have to sacrifice something in order to get the pairing, because there will be probably 2 or 3 armies that can deal with them.
Okay.
14 knights, 14 arms. Sorry, I keep clicking that. I'm sorry. I need to fiddle. Sorry. 14 armigers is still 14 lots of 12 wounds at toughness 10. If you want to do the math, that's what 168 wounds of toughness 10, 3 up save, 5 up invulnerable save. That is still a lot. However, it's a lot of armies can still deal with it. So I do think they're good, but I think you've really got to build a comp that leans into their strengths. If you don't, then I kind of think it's pointless taking them. But that's just my opinion. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap up. We've had
but we're enjoying Tomic time. It's been a long time since I've seen Tomic.
You're too kind.
Let's not go through all the armies right now.
Yeah, of course.
So Imperial agents are no.
Yeah, how are you feeling about them? Why didn't they show up at Battle of Britain? Anyhow,
fucking chance.
To everyone listening, thank you very much for tuning in. A massive thank you yet again to our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, and our patrons and YouTube members. Thanks very much, guys, for still being here with us. Now, if you like what we do, subscribe, hit the bell button, and all of that jazz. And with all of that, we bid you a goodbye.
Adios.
Bye, everyone.
Papa. Auf Wiedersehen.